Tonight, high risk for a copper reward.
I can't even describe to you how dangerous this is.
The apparent attempted theft causing a power outage for thousands. Plus, postal workers back on the picket line.
We will be here until we win.
What to expect from another Canada Post labor disruption. And disposal options for pet waste.
We'd need a secondary bin. Not keep it in the kitchen.
The possibility of expanding what ends up in London green bins.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a power outage for thousands of homes this morning. According to emergency responders, a brazen copper thief cut into a live hydro line beneath Adelaide Street. Daryl Newcomb reports.
A severed hydro line dangles beneath the bridge on Adelaide at Ada Street after a failed attempt to steal copper early Friday morning. Power was cut to 5,000 London Hydro customers in Glencairn, Highland, and around Hamilton Road.
I heard a bloop kind of sound. It was a weird sound.
According to London Hydro, someone attempted to cut a 10.5 centimeter feeder line with a saw, striking the live wire and sparking a fire.
This was significant enough for our fire department to respond with the hazmat unit. So because of the incident, we had a specialized team that respond to that. And that puts not only members of the public at risk, but also our firefighters.
Here on top of the bridge, you can still smell the electrical fire and even see evidence here on this concrete of the electrical fireball. No one was found in the area, so the condition of the person responsible remains unknown.
I can't even describe to you how dangerous this is. 27,000 volts is not something to mess around with. Our homes have about 120 volts, so it gives you a sense of how much higher the potential of impact was for this person.
Power has been restored, but the complex repair to the feeder line will take considerable time and money. It's the latest incident in a troubling trend.
We've seen the number of incidents of people looking to get into our infrastructure really increase. We're projecting about $1 million of damage this year from situations like this and vandalism like this.
We are actively investigating. We've been actively involved with London Hydro and the City of London with this ongoing issue of copper thefts. It's well known that copper theft stands as a source of income for certain members of our community.
City Hall previously tightened up its bylaw that regulates scrap metal recyclers, but the mayor says there needs to be consistent rules across the region and province to eliminate the black market.
The next phase in this is to work with our regional partners to ensure that we're working together as municipalities because these materials could be stolen here but sold elsewhere.
People in our community are aware of who are committing these thefts, and we urge anyone to come forward that may be able to help solve this. As everyone's reiterated, it presents a very serious safety concern.
London police urge anyone who sees someone tampering with hydro equipment to immediately call 911. Anyone with information about this investigation should call the non-emergency line. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Postal workers across the country are back on the picket line. This was outside the Canada Post Distribution Centre in London. About 100 local unionized postal workers went on strike just hours after Ottawa announced door-to-door mail delivery would end for nearly all Canadian households within the next decade. Today, union leaders say the post office as an institution is under attack. With more on their full-scale job action, here's Rachel Aiello.
Thousands of postal workers are on strike. The trigger for the shutdown? Sweeping changes the federal government is forcing, including ending door-to-door delivery in an effort to save a struggling Canada Post.
We're striking to keep good service and to keep good jobs. We will be here until we win.
But as long as this labor disruption lasts, no new mail will be processed or delivered, with few exceptions, meaning Canadians need to brace for delays. There's no sign Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu is ready to step in yet, saying today federal mediators remain available to support the bargaining process, and she is encouraging both parties to continue working towards a fair resolution. Yesterday, Ottawa announced it was ordering Canada Post to transition millions of addresses to community mailboxes, shutter some rural post offices, and extend delivery times for letter mail. Canada Post was getting ready to roll out these reforms, but says it's now preparing a new contract offer, while warning the strike will only worsen the Crown Corporation's dire financial situation.
We got to make the service more affordable because Canadians value it, but it's just becoming too expensive to them as taxpayers.
When these workers went on strike last year, it cost small businesses more than $1 billion, and they're now fearful of the impact that this labor disruption could have. Many of them are already treading water due to the trade war, and we're banking on the holiday shipping season to stay afloat. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Hundreds of striking Fanshawe College employees rallied today as talks resume between union leaders and the College Employers Council. With more on those negotiations, here's Brian Bicknell.
Cheapside Street outside Fanshawe College was lined with about 500 striking Fanshawe support staff and their supporters. They rallied as talks resumed between OPSU and the College Employers Council.
In the past year, we've lost thousands of support staff jobs across all colleges across Ontario, and Fanshawe has not been let out of that. We've definitely been affected by that as well. So it's just about job security, being those fair wages, those equitable living things that we're looking for. But that main thing is just that job security that we just want to know that we're appreciated and we're here to stay.
OPSU Local 109 represents close to 800 Fanshawe College employees. They're among 10,000 college support staff across the province who walked off the job September 11th. We reached out to the other side in all this, the College Employers Council, for comment, but because it is involved in mediated talks today, it is bound by a media blackout and unable to accommodate. The NDP's shadow minister for colleges and universities had no such restrictions.
Colleges across this province have had to use international student tuition to subsidize the programs that our communities need. This should be a government responsibility. We should have public investment in our public colleges because our communities rely on graduates.
Students, meantime, say the atmosphere in the school has changed with many services backed up.
A lot of the support staff is down, like the IT services have waits like in the 5 days when it was normally pretty instant. That's like the biggest thing I've noticed so far.
I definitely agree with Brady. Like everything's just delayed and not really anybody's in like their office and stuff like that. So everything's taking a long time.
Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Good evening and happy Friday. We have a beautiful evening underway. High temperatures this afternoon in the low to mid 20s. It was picture perfect out there in London this afternoon, hitting 24 degrees. Temperature coming down a couple degrees in the next hour, but holding on to some gorgeous conditions. We did have a foggy start to the day. Some dense fog took its time to mix out, but as we head into tomorrow morning, the fog not quite as dense, but we are still expecting a bit of fog to develop. As we head through the late evening, about a 30% chance of showers towards the Bruce Peninsula as a weak cold front drops in, not really having any impact on our weather in the London area other than just some cloud cover in and around the region. So we'll go from clear to partly cloudy. The temperature at midnight down to about 15 degrees. The winds nice and light and gorgeous conditions continue. Weekend is setting up to be a flashback to summer. I'll take you through the extended forecast and some dry days ahead. All of that coming up in just a few minutes. Carlyle, back to you.
Thanks, Julie. Lambton OPP say they've laid almost 24 charges against commercial truck drivers during a recent blitz. Police say 16 large truck inspections were carried out on the 402 in Sarnia last week, catching drivers as they headed to the Blue Water Bridge. They say 3 were taken off the road. According to police, they found equipment malfunctions, moving violations, and false log entries. London police have released a photo of someone they say is a human trafficking suspect who may have assaulted several women. Police say this is 26-year-old Shakir Ramon Mendoza, and he's accused of forcing a woman he was in a relationship with into the sex trade, assaulting her numerous times. He's charged with several offenses, and investigators say there may be more potential victims. Toronto police say they've arrested a suspect here in London, accused in the fatal shooting of an 8-year-old boy. The boy was killed by a stray bullet in Toronto back in August. He was in his apartment, laying in bed with his mother. Yesterday, police say they executed a search warrant here in London where they found one of two outstanding suspects. That suspect has been charged with first-degree murder. His name can't be released because he was under 18 at the time of the shooting. Police had previously arrested a 16-year-old boy. They say they are still looking for a third suspect, also a minor, when the shooting occurred. To the manslaughter trial at the London courthouse where the mother whose young boy died was questioned about a bump the child received the night before going to his babysitter's house. Nick Paparella has more on today's testimony.
Roseanne Van de Wiel is the first witness to be called at the manslaughter trial, looking into how her 15-month-old son, Nathaniel McClellan, died. 7 days later, she remains on the stand answering questions surrounding the death of her young boy, who died from a head injury after being picked up from his babysitter's house in Strathroy. Van de Wiel has always maintained that on October 27th of 2015, she dropped off a healthy child. Under cross-examination from the defense, she was asked about Nathaniel being bumped by a metal door the night before he was taken to the babysitter's house. And she said, "I knew this was not what injured my son. I knew my son was fine when I dropped him off at Megan's. My son was healthy." Just hours after being taken to the home of 46-year-old Megan Van Hoof, Van de Wiel said she received an urgent call and has repeatedly said, "She told me he fell and hit his head. I know for certain that's what she said." The mother rushed to get her child and went to the emergency department, saying, "He was just hanging stiff. At the hospital, I thought he was dead. He was hardly breathing. He was lifeless. It was awful." After a lengthy police investigation, officers would eventually charge Van Hoof 6 years later in 2021. She has pled not guilty to a single charge of manslaughter. Before the day wrapped up, the defense suggested that Van de Wiel opened the door that struck her child forcefully. She told the court, "I don't think I used a lot of force, but I don't remember." The trial and her testimony resume next week. Nick Paparella, CTV News.
City officials are considering a change to London's green bin program. A staff report is in the works for a pilot project allowing pet waste collection. With more on what that could mean for pet owners, here's Rita Ismail.
It's a proposal that could have a major impact on pet owners and London's composting system. The city is looking into the possibility of allowing pet waste to be included in the green bin program.
It does represent 5 to 10% of the weight that's going into our landfills, so it's a really important waste diversion activity for us. But of course, also residents have been saying, what do I do with my pet waste? You know, I don't want it to be in my garbage anymore.
The cost of the pilot project is undetermined at this time. However, if it were to be successful, city officials estimate up to $1 million added to the overall city budget on a yearly basis. That would cover costs associated with processing the pet waste at the facility and potential cost of extra bins.
Our bin capacity is 44 pounds. The pet waste tends to be quite heavy. So we need to look at things like, do we need another receptacle to collect the pet waste? Do we need to include kitty litter? Do we include just the feces? We really need to look at all those options.
For some pet owners, the idea is welcome, with some adjustments.
It's a pretty interesting concept, and it's nice to think that there's no more waste of plastic bags. We'd need a secondary bin. Not keep it in the kitchen.
Others say it could be a convenient way to clean up, especially after a long winter.
Poo being put in the recycling, I think it's great. You can just clean it up in the backyard, put it in your green bin, and away you go. No more buckets full of poo at the end of the winter. No more poo bags. It's great.
But not everyone is sold on the idea, especially when it comes to how compost from the green bin is used.
Too sure that people would be happy about that. I think people would be a little queasy about the level of content of dog waste in their compost.
City staff say the pilot project could begin as early as next spring if it's approved. But before then, they'll be looking at logistics, costs, and of course, what Londoners have to say. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
A message today from Londoners who have been through the addiction ringer, appealing to local leaders for more supports and resources. Sean Irvin has more on their stories, told at the annual Addiction Recovery Fundraising Breakfast.
For those who lived with and are now recovering from addictions, sharing their stories on stage can be overwhelming. But with compassion and support, 3 men who walked through the depths of despair opened up to a crowd of 350 people. For Travis, the story begins with an affiliation with high-ranking members of a biker gang. Many fell victim to that life.
It was kind of an eye-opener, just knowing those are the people that I used to associate with.
Along the way to recovery, he has been helped by some of the agencies this breakfast supports.
I can't express the sheer gratitude of places like the RCC, Quentin Warner, Detox. The staff that are there is so phenomenal.
Yet Richard, also in recovery, stressed that funding for new and canceled addiction programs is needed. He spoke directly to federal and provincial politicians in the audience as he made his plea.
What are the costs of not doing anything? We're seeing it today. More and more, it's getting bigger and bigger.
And that's the worry as many in this room await the future Heart Hub Homeless and Addiction Recovery Center. Until it and other services come online, the men warn that relapse and struggle will be common amongst those in the depths of despair.
The thing with addiction and hitting rock bottom is this: you can always go lower, and I did.
Life is not easy, but it is definitely 100% more tolerable today than when I was in my active addiction.
I think today we have heard words of hope, solution, connectedness. Those are the crucial pieces of why we do this breakfast.
Someone asked, can miracles be? May we always reply, take a look at me.
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Coming up, the Prime Minister pitches Canada's trade and defence future to European leaders. Plus, preparing the pitch for a historic opportunity. Canada's women's rugby team taking on England in the World Cup final.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVLondon.ca, your home for news.
Welcome back. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in the UK for a summit on boosting trade and economic ties. This meeting on the eve of a massive contest on the rugby pitch between Canada and England. Jeremy Sharon reports.
A fourth official face-to-face with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer for Mark Carney kicked off a visit to London.
Well, it's going to be a great match. Yep. And we're going to disagree. Agree to disagree.
Despite a friendly rivalry ahead of a big women's rugby match Saturday, the two leaders set their sights on shared defence priorities.
We've got Ukraine to discuss, we've got the Middle East to discuss, and thank you for the way we've been able to work together on both those issues. Great pleasure to be together again.
The Prime Minister also met with the leaders of Iceland, Spain, and Australia.
We are partners in commerce, we're partners in culture.
Actually, we actually have pretty similar economies.
Talks that all centered around building trade and economic partnerships, an area British Ambassador Ralph Goodell says Canada and the UK can still build on.
We've got $50 billion worth of trade flowing back and forth, and it is 99% tariff and quota-free.
Canada is looking to diversify its international partnerships in the face of Donald Trump's trade war. The U.S. president leveraged new tariffs Thursday on a wide range of imported goods, including heavy-duty trucks and pharmaceuticals. Still, Carney today shied away from directly taking aim at the U.S. president.
You face special circumstances in Canada, given your neighbor to the south, and let me just apologize.
Instead, he shared with a progressive crowd at this summit how he won the April election.
So it's not engaging on the turf of the more negative agenda, but focusing on the positive.
All of it capped off with a dinner at 10 Downing Street, FaceTime with like-minded world leaders, the real focus of this trip, according to senior government officials.
The Prime Minister will meet tomorrow with business leaders and investors before taking his Canadian pride to a London rugby pitch. Carney is set to attend the Women's Rugby World Cup to cheer on Canada against England in the final. Jeremy Sherrill, CTV News, London.
And tomorrow's meeting between Canada and England is actually a rematch of the 2014 final. Canada lost that tilt, their only previous appearance in the final. John Venevalley-Rao has more on the historic significance if they come up with a win tomorrow.
For fans of women's rugby, tomorrow's match is one of the most anticipated in years.
Canada are exceptionally good. It's going to be a really good match.
So it's difficult to say which way it's going to go. Obviously, we wish that it goes our way.
This, the moment a week ago when the Canadian women advanced to the final, besting the defending champs, New Zealand, and now set to play England's Red Roses.
This is what we've been building for 3 years to do, and the fact that we're in this week and this is the game that we're in is just unbelievable, and it's just kind of a surreal feeling.
For the Canadians, this is only their second trip ever to the World Cup finals, and Saturday's contest will be tough. The Red Roses is made up of mostly pros with a budget 10 times bigger than that of the Canadians, and they've won a staggering 32 games in a row.
They have an aura about them. Our goal is to burst it, basically.
The Canadian team are themselves unbeaten this year and will play Saturday's game in Twickenham, England, at this stadium in front of a sellout crowd of 82,000, the largest ever for a women's rugby game.
This is a jam-packed stadium and the biggest stadium in England. I think it's very exciting for women's rugby in general.
They're going to kick some ass on Saturday.
Rob Baker, the Tragically Hip, praising the team, with the band selling special jerseys to support them. On social media, fan Shania Twain was asked if the team's last win impressed her much. She wrote back, "Oh, you know it did."
Red Roses.
And Prime Minister Carney meeting with his UK counterpart today, exchanging jerseys. For those who play the game, all of the attention's been great.
I think that we're changing the way people see Canadian rugby on the global scale.
And if the team can take the trophy, it'll truly be a moment for the nation to treasure. John Venevalley-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
On the desk now with Julie Atchison, and we are rounding out September with another summer-like weekend. We were talking off air about how some of these weekends in September felt nicer than some of the actual summer weekends we got.
I mean, this kind of weekend is perfect. Low humidity, temperatures in the mid-20s and sunshine. Doesn't get much better than that. Now, our humidity will creep back in just a tad, but it's not going to be anything that you can't handle. Today, we hit 24 degrees. Our low temperature last night dipped to 14. It was perfect this afternoon. I mentioned off the top, we started that day with some dense fog, and it took its time to mix out. If you were driving around the city or even outlying rural areas, you would have encountered some lower visibilities. Now, we do have a weak front that's slipping through. It's brought some cloud cover to areas along the Bruce Peninsula, northern Grey, Bruce County, but not doing a whole lot in terms of our forecast other than bringing us a bit of cloud cover. That frontal boundary will bring a brief shift in our winds tonight, but the winds will go back light and variable. We are seeing high pressure building in the upper atmosphere, and that means lots of stability in our forecast. As we look across the prairies tonight, temperatures starting to cool off after what's been a hot and record-breaking week. Temperatures now into the upper teens, low 20s. If you remember earlier in the week, the temperatures were upper 20s, some even breaking that 31-degree mark. So record-breaking temperatures coming to an end across the southern prairies, but you can see the heat where it resides. So just south of the border. So temperatures in the Dakotas, heading through Minnesota, Wisconsin, that warmth will be spreading over southern Ontario this weekend. And we're setting up for just an absolutely beautiful weather pattern. High pressure at the surface and aloft, and that means no active weather moving in. Just sunny days ahead. So you can see a little bit of cloud cover across the area, and there'll be a system that'll be moving through the Virginias, rather, in the Carolinas this weekend, and that will spread a bit of cloud cover towards southern Ontario, but it looks like just along the northern shoreline of Lake Erie. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, Midwestern Ontario, you have picture-perfect conditions setting up. Now, this time of year, we like to get out and enjoy all those fall activities. Make sure you take advantage of this gorgeous weather. We have about 7 days of sunshine to talk about. Overnight, 13 in London, 12 degrees in Mount Forest and in around KW, and 15 degrees near the shoreline of Lake Huron. Sunshine in the forecast for tomorrow, mainly sunny to a mix of sun and cloud, and the high 26, but it will feel like 30. Our metal roof outlet forecast for Sunday, mainly sunny and 26. Monday, mainly sunny and 25. Sunshine, that's all we got for you tonight. Wednesday, that's when October arrives, and with it, temperatures will dip just a bit, so we're back down to about 20 degrees, but daytime highs from 25 to 26. Normally this time of year in London, a normal daytime high about 19, so we are averaging well above normal, but we'll cool off a bit midweek. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, sunshine with daytime highs from 20 to 22. Now, the extended forecast is showing the ridge moving over the Great Lakes once again, so a reinforcing push of stability. But by the end of the 7-day, the ridge drifts off to the east, and that means the return flow. So we will see some warmth slowly start to return. So this weekend, summer-like conditions across the region. Beautiful weather on the way, but dry. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Sunshine to mainly sunny. Daytime highs from about 25 to 26 degrees. So setting up for a picture-perfect weekend, Carlyle, across southern Ontario with lots of sunshine. Great to get out and enjoy some outdoor fall fun. Back to you.
Thanks very much, Julie. Still ahead, the potential tax burden when someone dies before they withdraw money from an RRSP.
Fall is officially here. Christmas is less than 3 months away. It's time to start thinking about a vacation.
And we can't say too much, but Pure Country might have this sorted out for you. Make sure you're listening on Monday morning.
New data shows Canada's economy grew slightly in July, a rebound after 3 months of contraction. According to Stats Canada, real gross domestic product grew by 0.2%. Mining and oil and gas extraction were the main drivers, somewhat tempered by declining retail trade. Early numbers suggest real GDP was essentially unchanged in August. President Donald Trump has announced a new series of tariffs that includes 100% duties on branded drugs and 25% on heavy-duty trucks. He's also imposing 50% duties on imported kitchen cabinets and bathroom vanities, as well as 30% on upholstered furniture. Trump says he's protecting American manufacturing and national security, putting these new tariffs into effect on October 1st. A woman in the Toronto area who lost both her parents in a short period says she then had to deal with a hefty tax bill tied to the money her parents had saved before they died. Pat Foran reports.
Last year was a difficult time for Ashley Galley and her Burlington family. Her mother, Jackie, who worked as a nurse, died in January at 62 years old. And in December, her father, Michael, who worked in business, passed suddenly at 63. The couple were high school sweethearts.
We think that my dad passed away of a broken heart.
Gallia describes her parents as hard workers who saved to buy a cottage in 1998 and always put money away in their RRSPs for their retirement. 5 years ago, they sold their home and made the cottage their principal residence. When they both died last year, Gallia's mother's RRSP rolled into her father's for a total of $715,000. When her father died, the RRSP had to be taxed as income at about 50%, and there was capital gains on the cottage. The family had a tax bill of $659,000.
It made me more angry than anything. We've just lost both of our parents inside of 11 months.
Gallia says to avoid selling the cottage, almost the entire amount of RRSPs her parents saved had to go to pay the tax bill. She says she and her brother expected some of the funds and were shocked almost nothing was left over.
What happens to the RRSP? Maybe there's a better vessel to put that in so that it does pass on to your kids or who you'd like it to pass to.
If you want to do some retirement income planning for tax efficiency, at least by the age of 55 or 60.
Tax expert Evelyn Jack says families should adopt a strategy to reduce the amount of tax they pay, use life insurance, and get advice from a professional to avoid a massive tax bill when a loved one passes.
Take a tax hit earlier on so they can avoid a top marginal tax rate at death, and in the process, put that money into more tax-efficient vehicles, for example, a TFSA.
Gallia says she's still grieving the loss of her parents, but wanted to share what happened to her family to help others.
Other people learn that maybe RRSPs aren't the best option for them, then at least I've done something to be helpful or beneficial, and I think my parents would be proud of me for that.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Hyundai has issued a substantial recall for thousands of SUVs sold in Canada. Company officials say they're calling back 44,000 Palisade models from 2020 to 2025 because of a possible issue with the seat belts. They say some belts may not latch properly. According to Hyundai, owners will be contacted directly, advising them to go to a dealership to get their vehicle checked. Meanwhile, more than 1 million Oster French door toaster ovens have been recalled. The manufacturer says they should stop being used immediately. Officials say the spring-loaded front door can snap suddenly closed, causing a burn hazard. The company is offering a free repair kit. Canada's main stock index saw a slight gain today, with analysts calling those GDP numbers a positive surprise. The TSX was up 29 points. In New York, the Dow added 300. NASDAQ climbed at 99. The Canadian dollar dropped 0.07 On commodity markets, gold gained almost $38 an ounce. Oil added 74 cents a barrel. When we come back, $1 billion benchmark at Western University launches its most ambitious fundraising campaign in school history.
5K a day is back on 97.5 Virgin Radio. Listen to Jeff, KP, and Backstage Ben for your chance to win $5,000
every weekday.
5K a day.
Virgin Radio.
Welcome back. Western University has announced a substantial fundraising campaign. School officials call their All-In campaign the largest fundraising effort in Western's history, with a goal of $1 billion raised from alumni donations. They say more than half of that total has already been raised. In a statement today, detailed about $90 million worth of projects to have already received funding. And for more on this, I'm joined by the campaign's co-chair, David Simmons. David, thanks for being with us today.
Real pleasure to be here.
I want to start with the way you frame this campaign, because I can't help but notice the language, all in, high stakes. It's gambling language, essentially. It certainly implies a sense of risk at play here. So I'm curious about the intention behind this messaging.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're gambling. I think we're confidently making a decision. Making a decision to face the opportunities that are in front of us and tackle some really big challenges that are facing the world. We're living in a time that can be scary for a lot of people. There's a lot of tight knots around us, and Western is a very confident community that has the resources, the people, and the talent to make Canada a better place, to make the world a better place. And so we're calling our community together to get after it.
You're certainly talking about a big vision for sure, wanting to make a national and global impact here. I'm sure a lot of our viewers, though, will be curious. You know, there's $1 billion is what your goal is here. What is Western going to do here in London with $1 billion in hand?
Western has called London home for 150 years. It's going to continue to call London home. We think that as Western grows, London grows. I had the privilege to live in London for 5 or 6 years as a student and then a postgrad. I get to come back to London regularly. My job is with a company that has a regional head office here in London. So I think the more productive we are as an institution, the more research we do, the more lives we change, the more people choose London, whether that's for economic investment, for cultural and arts investment, or to raise their families. So we're thrilled to be. I'm thrilled to be home this weekend in London, and I'm sure that there's hundreds of alumni, thousands of alumni that are going to do the same.
Of course, it is homecoming weekend. I'm sure there'll be a lot of opportunities for these meaningful engagements as it's framed in the statement today. I'm curious about what that means to you about engaging with alumni. What does that look like?
I often talk about all in, meaning being fully known around campus, being fully known for the enthusiasm, the energy, and the impact that our community at Western has. And so that's what we're going to celebrate this weekend. That's what we're going to celebrate the next little while as we stretch to reach that $1 billion goal, to reach 1.5 million unique engagements and connections for our community. Our greatest strength at Western are the people. My life has been made better because of the friendships that I made in first year at Medway Hall and the relationships I have around the world, really. I've had the privilege to work in New York, San Francisco, Toronto, and what's consistent across all those markets, someone else went to Western, someone else loves this university, and someone else wants to make a difference.
All right. Best of luck with the rest of this campaign. David Simmons, the co-chair for Western's All In campaign. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Negotiations resumed today, trying to resolve a strike by thousands of college support workers. Union leaders and the College Employer Council were joined by a mediator for their discussions. More than 10,000 support workers walked off the job earlier this month after failing to agree on a new contract. According to the union, job security is the #1 priority, followed by better wages and benefits. Officials with the College Employer Council claim meeting the union's demands would result in $900 million in additional costs. A provincial inquest into the death of a London woman will take place later this fall. The inquest is scheduled to begin November 27th, looking into the circumstances of Amanda Bolt's death. She died in hospital while in London police custody in 2019. Inquests are mandatory under provincial law, and this one is expected to last 7 days with 9 witnesses. An Ontario court has approved an auction for more than 4,000 items from Hudson's Bay. Officials have not said what exactly will be on the block. However, they have said the items will be split between an online auction starting November 12th and an in-person auction a week later. They also say the royal charter that led to the company's creation in 1670 will not be included. Monday on CTV News, a day for reflection. We look at the local preparations ahead of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, what it means for the Indigenous community. That's Monday on CTV News at 6.
Thank you to Kirk Gordon for this gorgeous fall photo. Although flashback to summer this weekend with temperatures in the mid-20s, feeling like 30. Sunshine will dominate in the extended forecast with 7 days of sun on the way.
Israel's Prime Minister addressed the United Nations General Assembly this morning, calling Canada's recognition of a Palestinian state a disgraceful decision.
These are the people you want to give a state to? What you're doing is giving the ultimate reward to intolerant fanatics who perpetrated and supported the October 7th massacre. Giving the Palestinians a state 1 mile from Jerusalem after October 7th is like giving Al-Qaeda a state 1 mile from New York City after September 11th. This is sheer madness. It's insane, and we won't do it.
Benjamin Netanyahu claimed recognizing Palestine encourages terrorism against Jewish people. He also spoke about the hostages taken by Hamas and threats from Iran. Dozens of diplomats, though, from various countries walked out during his speech. Canada's ambassador, though, remained seated. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted by a federal grand jury on 2 charges, giving a false statement and obstruction of justice. Comey responded in a video last night saying he's ready for a fight.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
The indictment comes days after President Trump ordered the Justice Department to go after his enemies. Trump's longtime adversary is the first senior government official to face federal charges for one of the president's grievances, the 2016 investigation into whether Trump's first presidential campaign colluded with Russia. Canada is now home to a bovine record breaker. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the tallest steer on the planet lives in Vulcan, Alberta. Alicia Fieldberg reports.
In the big city.
His name is Beef, and the towering Holstein is among skyscrapers for the first time. This pair from Vulcan came to Calgary to celebrate a mega moment, winning the Guinness World Record for tallest steer.
It's a pretty surreal feeling to know that my picture is in this book.
Jasmine Entz never intended to go for a record, but was a fan of the books growing up, and a few years ago wondered how her pet might stack up with the competition.
When the record was measured in 2023, he stood 6'5".
She works at a dairy and wanted a calf as a pet. When she picked him at birth, he was regular sized, but as a neutered male, he grew a lot in 8 years. Right now, Beef is the tallest living steer on the planet, but he's still growing and he's on track to break another record.
There was one in Italy that was 6'8", and so that's the tallest ever recorded. Now he's 1.5 inches off of that. So.
He lives on a hobby farm with a Holstein cow and miniature goats.
He doesn't have a mean bone in his body. He gets along with everything.
She was once able to ride him, but he's grown too big for his saddle and too tall for his owner.
I'm not brave enough to get up that high. I don't like heights.
To feed the gentle giant, she has to fork out about $400 a month for a minivan-sized salad of alfalfa, but it's worth it.
His size coupled with his personality, and it's something to really admire.
She hopes she and Beef send a message about how much care goes into livestock, even the ones that aren't pets.
You know, the love that I have for him is the same love that goes into all of our milk cows on the dairy. It's a way of life, and it's a very important way of life.
Alicia Fieldberg, CTV News, Calgary.
A BC thrift store is at the center of a potentially 1,000-year-old mystery. Antique jewelry someone donated may actually be ancient Roman treasure. As Andrew Johnson reports, university students will have the opportunity to piece together its past.
You never know what's in the bottom of a box.
Among the thousands of donations sorted through each day at Chilliwack's Thrifty Boutique, some unusual discoveries stick out.
Diamond ring in the bottom of the sock. We've had like $300 in a men's package of underwear.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Their origins are sometimes a mystery, even a question of who, not what.
Hopefully, someone will come and claim Mom.
But none have attracted as much attention as the items that, even after multiple online searches, left the small army of volunteers stumped.
We just winged it, put a price on it, and threw it in the display case.
$30 for these, a collection of very old-looking rings and medallions. Turns out they may be much older than anyone could have imagined, but one shopper had a suspicion.
I guess what happened was an archaeologist came into the store, saw this collection on display, and said, "Then you really need to contact someone at SFU."
The items were donated to Simon Fraser University, where experts now believe they could date back as far as the 5th century AD, what was once the Western Roman Empire.
We've got potentially hundreds of generations of people who have worn these pieces or who, cared for them, who shared them, passed them down to loved ones.
They could also be forgeries. That is still a possibility. Something students will explore in a new archaeology course created specifically to study the find next fall.
It's really, really exciting to try to think about what the stories that will emerge from this research might be.
While the hunt continues here for the next treasure. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Chilliwack, BC.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest in the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
Welcome back. A trapped humpback whale along the BC coast is swimming free again. The whale was first spotted Sunday off Vancouver Island, tangled up in rope and fishing gear. BC's Fisheries Department got involved, eventually cutting the marine mammal free, an effort they say took about 6 hours. And finally tonight, a father on Vancouver Island and his lasting connection to his young daughter he lost. She had a rare disease which she fought bravely with an animal companion by her side. Adam Sawatsky reports.
Troy Townsend will never forget that day he surprised his daughter Lexi with a very real dog.
Couldn't believe it. What? This is, unbelievable.
Because before Max,
I'm 6 years older than you.
Lexi's big love,
You're still a baby.
was a little owl.
Well, I don't even know if she actually saw a real owl in her life, but she surrounded herself with owls.
Well, she placed owl pictures in her bedroom and hung her owl-shaped handprints in the living room. Lexi always brought this little stuffed owl to the hospital.
They put the needle in.
You see, Lexi was diagnosed with the ultra-rare Blau syndrome, which filled her body with debilitating and painful inflammation. Max was bought to be her therapy dog and ended up being a best friend.
I remember sometimes she'd be crying and then she'd look over at Max and then she'd just start laughing.
Max always found a way to make Lexi feel better.
He made my dreams come true.
Until that day he couldn't find her anywhere.
He always has been looking for her ever since.
5 years since Lexi's unexpected death, Max still runs to her room when he returns home.
He'll just sit there as if she's there, looking at something that we can't see.
Well, Troy and his family started turning their pain into purpose by launching the Cure Blau Syndrome Foundation. They also never stopped looking for Lexi.
And one day I said, I wish you would give us a sign that she's around.
And although they'd never seen an owl anywhere near their house before, Troy says this one stayed for more than an hour.
I've never seen anything like it, and I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it.
And ever since then,
oh my God,
owls have visited their house on birthdays, anniversaries, and any day they needed it most.
When they're gone, maybe they're not really gone, maybe they're still there, we just need to look a little harder.
And maybe, on those days we don't see signs, like this day, Max couldn't find Lexi in her room, and Troy gave him her house coat, where he stayed curled up for hours, we can find comfort in helping others.
Love wins, love comes through. She might be gone, but that love isn't.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Esquimalt.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local headlines, you can always head to our website. For all of us at CTV News London, I'm Carlyle Fiset. Have a great weekend.